Automations in high level can be super tricky. I get it. I have spent years trying to perfect all of my automations across my multiple agencies using high level. And today I'm going to show you tips, tricks, and how you can get started with automations in high level. You can do a lot with just high level's workflow and automation infrastructure, but you have to know those few key details and those little places in high level that you're missing that are going to help you make automations faster, that are more productive, and that can help your business grow. So without further ado, let's get to the video. Here we are in my white labeled version of high level. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with going to automations. Now, this is our tab where we can manage our workflows, and it's pretty straightforward. You can create folders, you can manage your workflow history and look at recent workflows via this. And then you can also create smart lists to organize your workflows as well, the same way that you would kind of organize a contact list. So this isn't going to be really necessary until you have lots of workflows and you need to organize them, because I promise after this video, you will probably want to start building workflows for every part of your business. And I don't blame you. They're absolutely awesome. So how do we get started with our very first workflow? Let's walk through the workflow templates first. Whenever you go to create a workflow in the top right, you can then click select from templates. This is the workflow template library. There's lots of different workflows that you can use in order to get started. And these are pre-built workflows for different actions that you want to do within your agency. So you can have lead nurture workflows, ones for list activation, appointment confirmations, missed call text back, no-show nurtures, birthday templates, all sorts of stuff. And these are all different workflows that we can use inside of our agency, and these are already pre-built for us. So let's say we're trying to build an appointment confirmation workflow. We can click preview, we can look at what the workflow is going to look like, and then we can click choose template and it will build the workflow for us. But before we dive into a pre-built workflow template, let's go ahead and just make one from scratch to keep things easy. And we can do this by clicking start from scratch. We also do have the ability to build using AI, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, your workflows are comprised of two different components. We have triggers and we have actions. Your triggers will be all these things at the top here, and you have a list of triggers whenever you click add new trigger that you can see on the right-hand side organized between contact triggers, event triggers, appointment triggers, opportunity triggers, affiliate triggers, course triggers, and payment triggers, as well as Shopify, IVR, Facebook and Instagram events, communities, and certificates. You can also get triggers from apps. So if you go to the Discover side, you can find different triggers from the app marketplace, but to keep things simple, let's stick to the ones that high level has for us. Now, the ones you're probably going to be using the most are ones like form submitted triggers, which we can find if we look up the word form. We have form submitted. We'll also be using lots of our contact related triggers like contact change, contact created, contact D&D, contact tag. These are also great triggers that we can use. And then of course you have ones like payment triggers as well, where payment received, invoice received, order form submission, things like that. Now let's run through a couple of different use cases. Let's first just make a very simple appointment confirmation reminder workflow. We'll be doing this with our appointment related triggers. And the best one is going to be either appointment status or customer booked appointment. Appointment status, I find, is a little bit more consistent because it reads just off of your calendar. And when we click this, we can just see event type normal. And if we click save, that will now read any events that are being triggered off of our calendar. We can also get this a little bit more specific by adding filters. So things like the appointment status is confirmed. We can also do this with canceled. So for example, if a canceled appointment shows on your calendar, then it would run if you picked cancel. But if we're just going to do an appointment confirmation, we'll do appointment status is confirmed. And to make it even more specific, to essentially just make sure it's only running when we want it to run, we can add in calendar. Now, if you already have a calendar created in high level, then this is perfect. And you can select the calendar that you want this trigger to run off of if you're booking appointments through one specific calendar. So it's not, booking appointments through ones that you've manually done through Google and things like that. So we can set up that saved trigger, and then we can go ahead and move on to our actions. So our actions is going to be a completely different list of these actions on the right-hand side. These are actions that we can use to execute in our workflow. And if you have a question about if an action is available, then I would just search it here if we want to run one based off of, let's say, adding a tag, right? Then adding contact tag, if we just search this up, we can see our different functions that we have with tagging. If we want to do maybe invoice, we can search that up and we'll see we have a send invoice action as well. There's lots of different actions in a ton of different categories, but let's go over the main ones. We have ones like sending an email or an SMS. So sending email, sending SMS. We also have our social media triggers. So like Instagram and Facebook. We have Instagram DM and Instagram Interactive Messenger, as well as Facebook Interactive Messenger, right? Because there's no Facebook DMing, it's just the Interactive Messenger. And then of course we have actions that are like organizational actions. So these are ones like adding contact tags, maybe pipeline updates. So if we look up opportunity, then we can create opportunities, edit opportunities, update opportunities, doing all these things. So we have our opportunity actions, which allow us to find opportunities, create opportunities, and do lots of stuff. For this example, let's say we want to create an opportunity whenever someone comes in from our appointment being booked. We can select our pipeline here, right? Let's say our marketing pipeline, and then we can add fields like what the name is going to be and things like that. Now, we don't have to add any additional fields for this one, but every single action will give you a level of customization, and usually it's called fields. So for this one, for our opportunity, we can select fields like whenever we run this action, what do we want to call the opportunity itself? Now we're going to move into custom values and custom fields. So custom fields are how we use context specific data within our opportunities, within our actions, within everything in HighLevel or any CRM. This is our custom fields. And our custom fields can almost always be accessed by finding this little tag icon. This icon will give you an entire list of all the custom fields specific to this contact, specific to the user, the appointment, and all the different places of the account. Contact specific custom fields are things like name, email, phone, address. User specific custom fields are things like your name, phone number, email, address, things like that are associated with the user for this contact. Now, when we say the users for this contact, we mean the user that is assigned to this contact. When contacts come into HighLevel, users can be assigned to that contact as their manager or as their follower, right? And that's essentially, think about it in like a sales perspective. You have a lead comes in, a salesperson handles them, and they get assigned to the contact. And yes, there is an action for assigning contacts to users. You can set that up if you want. So that's what our user specific actions is. These are great if you have lots of different users, but for most cases, it's not going to be needed unless you have multiple users in your HighLevel. Then we have appointment custom fields. So these include things like the appointment link, the cancellation link, the meeting location, the rescheduling link, buttons that will allow the user to add this appointment to their Google Calendar. All these custom fields are saved in here. For the most part, you are going to be using the contact custom fields, things like their name. These are going to be the most important ones. So if we're making an opportunity, we want the contact name just like that, and then we can click save. That's really where you're going to use contact fields the most, is with contact specific custom fields. So with this setup, we've got one trigger with a basic appointment confirmation, and then we've got our create opportunity action. We can also add actions like send an SMS or send an email. These will work very basically off of, let's say we're going to say hi name in our message, just like this. Your appointment is confirmed. Okay, so just like that, we have a custom field. And then when we click save action, it's going to send out this custom message to the contact whenever they book an appointment. If the contact has no first name or their name isn't in their field, then it will just be blank, or it will say object. So make sure you're pretty specific with using these custom fields. You're making sure that you're actually using data that exists. You don't want to just add in a bunch of custom fields that don't exist. But just like that, we can send an SMS. Keep in mind, for things like send SMS, send email, Instagram DM, Facebook DM, things like those actions can only operate if you have a phone number set up, if you have an email set up, if you have your Instagram or Facebook connected, etc. So whenever you're running actions like this, if you have a question about, hey, how is this actually performing this action, and you can't quite answer that, then chances are you haven't connected the necessary parts in order to make it work. So in order to make sure you're sending out a message, just make sure you have a phone number purchased. And then of course, test it a few times. Same thing with email and things like that. So we have triggers, we have actions, we have custom fields that we can use within our actions. The last thing that I'm going to talk about is branching. So we have our if else branch right here, which you can find if you just search up if else. And this is how we're going to make slightly more complicated workflows that allow you to organize customers by just dumping them in one workflow. And then this can handle the organization of those customers. This is where effectively we can branch customers into different segments of the workflow and perform specific actions based on customer information. So a good use case of this for the appointment confirmation setup, we're going to branch based off of new customers and existing customers. This is a really easy, simple use case that a lot of people would use. So if we have existing customers that are booking an appointment, we want to say something different. Maybe it's a customer support call. Maybe they just want to get coffee, right? But if we have a new customer that is booking an appointment, then maybe we need to be more salesy. We need to talk about our services and introduce ourselves more, right? But we don't want those customers to mix. So how do we do that? We do that with branching. So we can make one branch called new customer. And then we can designate how the branch will select if they are a new customer, because it has to obviously take customer data into account, fit specific requirements, and then send them down that branch. Now, in order to see if this is a new customer, why don't we just do last appointment is empty? Very easy. We're now sending people down this route if they've never booked an appointment with us, right? Because it stores those appointments. So just like that, when we save that, we'll now have, if the last appointment is empty, then it will send them down this route. Those are new customers. And then if none, it will send them down that route as well. Every branch by default includes your pre-built branches and then also the none branch. This is just when none of the conditions are met. Typically, you want to leave this for errors. So I'll typically use this for error messages. So like if someone goes down the none branch and I didn't expect them to, I'll have it send me a text and say, hey, something's wrong, right? Check out the workflow. You can do that with internal notifications. I'll show you that in a second. But let's go ahead and build our second branch. So we'll say existing customer. And one of the ways that we can do that is, again, with that last appointment at field, we'll say last appointment is not empty. So we have new customers, we have existing customers, and now they're going to go down a different route. So for this, we can do, let's say we want to be sending an email. Then we can create our email action. We can add our subject of welcome, right? And whatever other text you want to add here. But if they are an existing customer, then we will send an email and say, looking forward to talking again, right? So this allows you to be really specific with your marketing and just basically automate the things that you don't want to have to do manually. You don't want to have to remember if you've met with this person before. You want to have the system send out appropriate reminders based on that. And you can build really great workflows just with this if-else branching. A really common way that people will build these workflows, especially for, let's say, follow-up flows, is if we are getting responses, right? So we can have another branch. Let's go ahead and do an if-else branch. And we can say responded. This is our branch. So if they've responded to our message. And we can do that with a branch, but in order to do this, we have to use a wait action. Why do we have to use a wait action? Well, we have to use a wait for reply action. And let me show you those real quick, because that's the one other part that I want to show you. So our wait action, if we just search up wait in actions, this is what allows us to either add a very simple time delay, right? Just like that, wait 10 minutes and then perform the next action. Or we can wait for different things to happen in the account. So we can wait for an appointment. We can wait until an invoice is overdue, or we can wait for a particular condition to get satisfied, or we can wait for a reply to a specific step. So if we add our wait action here, we can wait for a reply to that SMS. And then if they don't reply, this is that timeout of 10 minutes, then it will perform another action. So let me show you this, because whenever we use a wait action like this, it will immediately make its own branch. As you can see here, this wait just made its own branch because we have one branch for what happens when a contact replies, and then another branch for what happens after 10 minutes. And if we want, we can simply delete our timeout branch, and then it just becomes a simple wait action. And the contact will not move to the next step after this wait action if they don't reply to our message. So let's go over all of this one more time. We have our triggers. We can use lots of different triggers like contact change, contact created, contact tag, things like that. We then have our actions, which allow us to perform actions based on the triggers. And then lastly, we have our if-else branches, which allow us to organize our contacts. And we can use wait timers, messages, different actions like this in order to organize our customers and send them throughout our pipeline using our automation. Now, obviously, there are hundreds of actions and lots of triggers, so you can have essentially an infinite amount of possibilities when creating automations in your HighLevel, which is awesome because HighLevel doesn't charge per automation. They don't charge per workflow use unless you're using like a premium action, but there's so many cool things we can do with this, with AI, with messaging, with appointment confirmations, with contact organization, things even internally for you and your team to manage your customers. And doing this with automations is the best way to get your business running smoothly so you don't have to spend as much time managing your customers. Now, if you have any questions or a very specific automation that you have in mind, feel free to leave a comment. Please do. I will respond to you and I'll let you know what your best course of action is to set up your automation. And if you have something more complicated, then feel free to book a call with us at howtousehighlevel.com/contact, and I can work with you one-on-one to help you build out the automation of your dreams. I hope this has been helpful in giving you some insight into how to use automations to build your business with HighLevel. As always, as I said, if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. This has been Andrew, and thank you very much for watching.